Yo, what's up, man? This is IOTA's Godcast. I got a lot of inspiration by crossing paths with somebody, and as a reminder from God, I really appreciated it because I noticed that the blessings that Elohim is sending me through people, the emissaries, the angels, right? Praise Yahshua. Praise Most High God, Yahweh. So I want to talk to some. I want to talk to y'all about something because excuse me, I want to talk to y'all about something because um one day I got this vision, man, and I crossed paths with many people at where I work, and I work in the public and the public space with a lot of people. It's basically an area where a lot of people pass through. You know what I mean? Um, So we're crossing paths with people, man, and having these spiritual talks with different people from different places from around the world that pass through. Um, I'm always fascinated to learn about their culture and things like that. But I got a vision that just came across my mind concerning the Jewish people. You feel me? Um, because when I started learning about Christianity, my main concern was, when I read the story about Jesus and why his own people killed him, um, I said, okay, well, this is probably like a scriptural thing. You know what I mean? Um, I looked it up. I looked up a video. This guy, I think he's from America, but he's also Jewish, and he's going to Israel, and he's asking people questions about, what do you think about Jesus? And after seeing so many people, what they're saying about him, like a lot of the Jewish people of Judaism, they all said, like, we want nothing to do with him. He has nothing to do with Judaism. He has nothing to do with the original text of the Bible and all this stuff. One girl even said she took it upon herself that saying something about if they seen Jesus today, they would kill him. You know what I mean? And just hearing this and just seeing it, I'm like, dang, you know. Um, but when I just wanted to know, I say, instead of watching these YouTube videos, I can go to the synagogues and ask them what do they think about him. So I ended up going and I asked the first person I talked to was a Jewish woman, and she was really nice. She was really really pretty. But I said, nah, hey man, Iota, stay focused. you know. So that's how the flesh can be. Like when you focus, man, like you get distractions and stuff like that. So I said, hey man, how you doing? I don't mean to disturb y'all or anything. I was just passing by here because I used to always go to a burger spot, my favorite burger spot. And on the way back home, I would always pass a synagogue. I would see a building with the Star of David outside, like on this placard. And I said to myself, "Oh, this must be a synagogue." You know what I mean? So one day, I was looking for synagogues to go to, and my dad also goes to Jewish services because he wanted to learn about Judaism as well. But he's a well known Christian, and he's a unapologetically Christian, right? So he took it upon himself to start learning from them and just knowing like what they believe in. But my dad is a lot different than me because he kind of has his mind made up about like, okay, yeah, like he accepts Jesus as the Messiah, but he's kind of going in with his cup filled. And I believe like when you go into learning about people, you have to completely empty that cup because you have to humble yourself to where you're not premeditating like, oh, I got the truth, I got the answer. Because fact of the matter is, you know what you believe in, but you have to still open yourself up to where they can teach you something and you have to take it all in. Because what I've learned is you have to accept things for what they are. And the problem is people don't really accept the complete naked truth, right? So it's like if I'm new and I'm learning about Christianity, going there, like the Bible tells you to be innocent as a lamb, right? When they say that Jesus, they refer to him as the sacrificial lamb or the lamb without spot. They're talking about without any sin, right? Without any blemishes, right? Talking about someone that's perfect. So they talk about being like children, right? Like being pure, innocent, humbling yourself as a child, right? So when you're going in the synagogue, I'm not saying be like foolish, but I'm saying like just kids have open hearts, right? So if they have open hearts and they're innocent and they're not thinking anything, like, nothing is in their minds because they don't know anything. You feel me? So if they don't know anything, then that's telling you like, hey, that's why they're the most purest at heart. That's why they have the most potential to become something greater and to surpass the elders because they come in there with their cup empty. So I would recommend everybody do that. But going back to what I said. So I went to the synagogue and I asked the lady, um, hey, I've learned that, through watching videos and stuff that a lot of Jewish people don't believe in Jesus, which is astonishing to me because they say that Israel is the place where he was born and where he was from. And then when I look up videos about you guys and your faith, y'all seem to hate Yeshua, right? Which is what they call him in Hebrew. And so I've even researched things about like how the name Yeshua was really like it comes from some type of acronym that really the Jewish people gave him as a derogatory name. I heard a lot of stuff like that his name is really Isa. It's kind of similar to like what it sounds like the name that Muslims call him, but they say Jesus spoke Aramaic, and Aramaic is like a different dialect of Hebrew. But when you listen to it, there's actually like it sounds really Arabic, which is very interesting to me because I always felt like Arabic is a lot older than what people say. You know what I mean? But that's another thing. And I don't think that's by coincidence either. The fact that his name is Isha, which sounds like Isa, like it sounds like the exact same as the Arab word Isa, which is spelled Isa. Aramaic, which they say is the language that Jesus spoke at that time, his name would be Ishoo, which is Ishoo, right? It's still sound when you say it, it's like you're saying Isa. And then the name of God in Aramaic is Elah, which sounds like Allah. Okay. And this is what they speak in the Syriac language in Syria, right? They speak Aramaic there. So I asked the lady and I tell her, yeah, how come you guys like don't believe in him? And she says, well, it's really because we don't believe that one man could have came here and then just changed everything, changed the laws, change everything we do. Not only does this show to me that they don't really understand the Bible because Jesus said that I come not to destroy the laws, but to fulfill it, right? Which means he wasn't really against like keeping the Sabbath or anything or people worshiping him. I mean, people worshiping God. But what he was saying is that love surpasses the laws and the commandments, the 613 commandments. and they didn't understand this. They think that you can only be saved by doing the rituals, but they didn't understand that you can do all the rituals and still not have the love of God in your heart. You feel me? Just like how somebody can make you do something by force over and over and over again, and you still don't really love them. It's kind of like a pimp hoe relationship. You know, people that you have a woman that's a prostitute, and then you have her pimp, right? And he's just making her do all of these things by fear, or he might drug her or whatever, right? And so you think like, oh man, you know, like she's just listening to him because like she loves him, but no, that's not the case. She might actually fear him, and she's doing things and obeying him by fear. And so when you're talking about your relationship with the Creator in the Bible, it talks about God as being like us being the bride and him being the husbandman, right? And having this expression of like being married, like a healthy marriage, like you being married to a good woman, right? Or a good husband, and you guys are married, and a loyal, healthy marriage to where it's unbreakable and you guys become one, right? Like it says in Genesis when Adam and Eve, when Adam was given Eve by God, right? After God gave him life first, he gave him life first. And then the second next thing to that life, because the life is God, he blew himself into Adam, right? It's nothing better than that. Then from that, he gave him Eve, right? So with Eve, um, you know, being there as the second human, it's actually, where was I going with this? Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to think about like a lot of stuff at once. Um, okay, so when Eve was given this, right? Like, you know, you have to have this marriage, right? Because the marriage is like an unbreakable thing because it says a man is to leave his mother and father and cleave onto his wife. So what that is saying is the way that you're supposed to love God is like an unbreakable marriage, but then it's almost like y'all becoming like you're becoming one with God. Well, it's not almost like you become one because you actually are. So if you read John 10:30, you know, it says, Jesus says, I and my Father are one. Then it said the Jews picked up the stones and they threw it at Jesus, right? So you're looking at it like that, it is supposed to be an unbreakable marriage, right? So much so to where we become the personifications of God through Yeshua, right? You are one with Jesus so much that you walk like him, that you talk like him, because you literally are becoming him, right? Now, when I say this, it's like, hold up, what you mean you're becoming them? You don't want to drift too far into that, right? You don't want to start walking around and start acting like you're Christ and God and stuff like, no, but this is the point. Okay. You look at the Greeks and what they did, like all the idols that they make, even when you look at the letters, when you look at letters in the alphabet, letters are representations of an expression or a sound, but they're representations. An ambassador is a representative of some higher authority, right? So in this case, Jesus was actually the living word, which they call logos, which is where the word logo comes from, because it's actually a symbol, right? Or an emblem, or oh, I forget what you call it's like a um dang, what's it called? like the badges or whatever, like from military badges or whatever. I forget what you call it, but Yeshua is a living embodiment of the mark of God, right? So you know how like there's the mark of the beast, and then you have a living uh a logos, the word. He was the living embodiment. He was the personification of the all most high God, right? But people tend to forget that symbolically Jesus is us. Like he's us if we did not fall to sin. He's us if we were at our best. Okay? It tells you in Revelations that the number of man is the same number as the mark of the beast. It's not because I'm saying this. The book is telling you. Okay? It also says that Adam, who took the fruit from Eve and bit into it, it said that death came by him, but life came through Jesus Christ. So it says that death came from man and life came from man, right? Which means that Jesus is a quickening spirit. Now, I know a lot of y'all thinking like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Life came from a man, right? Well, ultimately, it came from the most higher God. You know what I mean? Highest God, only God, really, which is Elohim. But what Jesus is supposed to be is he is an emanation of the creator and the creation of the most high, which cannot be measured in a certain type of volume because they call him the most high, as if he's like there's others that have are on certain tiers, right? But it's not because he is the only. This is just the old English way of explaining the all in all or the all supreme, because even in Egypt they refer to the all in all in Ma'at, the laws of Ma'at, the 42 laws of Ma'at. I think the 42nd law is the all in all. But then, not only that, but the Muslims call God Allah, which means the God, and they refer to him as the all merciful, which he is because he is all merciful. That's not a contradiction to what the scriptures are saying, even though they believe in some other things, but they believe in Jesus, but they don't believe in the story of how they say it. But the Jews don't even believe in him at all. Like you do have some Messianic Jews, but they get a lot of heat and they don't want the term Christian on them because that is something different. The whole spirit of a Christian is like because like a Christian, they kind of are entrenched in like other cultures while they can still be Christian. The Jew is like, no, it's important to, if you're going to be a Messianic Jew, you should still keep the Jewish customs, but accepting who they call Yahshua, or who the people that rather call him by his the name he would call himself, like in the Aramaic, which is Ishoo. Those people, um, worship. They accept Yeshua as that Messiah or Mashiach. Okay, being the Mashiach. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Messianic Jews, they do believe that Jesus is the manifestation of the living God. From what I researched on here, but in a sense, I feel like they may believe that, but then it's kind of like, have you ever like believed in two things, like saying like this? And this might not make sense, but it's kind of like a paradox, saying like, because me personally, this is how I feel. I can see from both sides of what they're saying, like the Christian standpoint and then the Jews that don't believe in Jesus. Because what they're saying is just like what the Muslims are saying. They want to worship God in the purest form without any type of mediator. Because a mediator is like a middleman that you got to go through to get to it. That's like if you have a middleman just to get to the money, or you got, excuse me, a middleman. I can't do nothing unless I go through you. Like you're the gatekeeper. So they saying like, oh, Jesus is saying, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one can get to the Father but through me. You know what I'm saying? So if this a picture and like how the Jews thinking, picture if somebody tell you that today, you're gonna look at them like, bro, you hella crazy. And the things that our fathers had left us throughout generations, our ancestors, our forefathers, right? None of them said that God was going to be in a man form. It never said that. Okay. Some people don't understand anything about prophesying. Prophesying is like this. It's like poetry. It's like a metaphor. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody says like, okay, you like comic books. So it says like a bird, like a plane. You know what I mean? Who is he? You know what I mean? He runs fast. He runs fast, like faster than a train. You know, he's stronger than a bull, whatever. They'll say this. And say, oh, it's Superman. You know what I mean? It would say like, oh, you know, he creeps at night. You know, darkest night. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And he has all the power and might. You know, it might say, oh, that's Batman. They have these theme songs that give you an explanation, and then they tell you the name, right? So prophesying is like that. So the Christians believe that the Bible, yes, it never directly mentions. So it's kind of like this. It does, but it doesn't. It's kind of like if Jesus comes, he never told people he was God. And I always debate my dad on this. He never said he was God. And I will repeat that again for the Christians out there. He never, ever, 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 ever directly said he was God. Y'all have to understand that. And I would appreciate it if y'all stop lying to the people saying that he said that. Okay? Because he never directly said the words, I am God. Right? He never said that. People knew, and they started filling in the blanks. Because the Spirit has said this, and that's who they knew. It's kind of like how you ever play the game of charades, right? You cannot say the actual thing, but you can give clues to it, and then they'd be like, oh, this, oh, you know, Pikachu. Or they might say, oh, car, you know, vroom, vroom, oh, motorcycle. But they can't say it. So what the Bible does is it gives you clues and like riddles to fill in the blanks, because the Bible, when you read Psalms and really when you read all of it, it is like a long poem, because it's a spiritual expression. A lot of times, some expressions can be it can be expressed better if you're not direct. You get what I'm saying? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. In 1 second, hold on. What I mean by that is, let me put some light in here. What I mean by that is basically saying like, have you ever like, okay, it gives an example of this in the Bible. If you go somewhere and you exalt yourself, right? Like if you take it upon yourself to sit in like the highest chair, like say if you had a stadium, or you took it upon yourself to sit somewhere in this building around this table. Now it's a long table, but At the end of the table is like the person that you're all looking at. Now everybody wants that main chair because they know it's kind of like when you sit in that chair, now you're facing everybody and everybody's looking at you. So everybody wants to be in the leadership chair, right? But the person that humbled himself and came in there and he took it upon himself as a guest, he walked in there as a guest and he did not exalt himself. Somebody might see him sitting on the floor, and because the people of the house said no, like when people try to sit in the chair, they said nah, 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 right? And then after a while, they see this one man sitting on the chair, sitting on the ground, humbling himself, which is Jesus, right? And then the head person says, man, come here, man. You ain't got to sit in. Look, man, look, this is the last seat left, bro. Look, come over here and sit. Now, he got the master seat. He went from the floor to the master seat. You know why? Because he didn't just take it upon him. That's like you going to somebody's house and you just open up the refrigerator door. They're going to push you away. They like, man, you got to ask just to come in somebody's fridge, right? But when you humble yourself, and yeah, you might be starving, but they might see it like, hey, bro, are you hungry? Now you have access because you didn't just grab it, right? I even heard that's a line from Beyonce, right? If you don't grab it, she's going to let you have it, right? That's just like a little reference to that, right? So a lot of times, I'm not saying do this to try to be in a way where you try to get the best thing. No, but I'm saying if your heart is right and you don't put those things first, you don't have to really worry about it because your heart is not in things of this world. Your heart is in things in heaven and God. Like it's a lot of things that come my way that I do appreciate, and God knows this. I really do. And a lot of times I know He's sending it to me. But at the same time, I still don't put all my strength in the things that He gave me because that's not Him. That is a blessing that's from Him, but I am not to worship what He sent me, right? I am to worship Him because He's the living source. You see what I'm saying? Because He is the infinite. He is the eternal. You get what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of the Jewish people, they don't really understand that they don't understand the scripture. It's like if you watching a battle rap and somebody says a bar or some words that's too deep. It's too deep for people to catch up. This is why they start dumbing down the lyrics in hip hop. This is why they start doing whatever it is because they just want you to kill each other, do drugs, all this stuff, right? That's all they want you to do. But once you start kicking down some knowledge and you start talking about Nazareth, resurrection of Lazarus, you can't kill me. I'm the apostle. You know what I mean? I got the Bible, spitting the gospel. I'm the Messiah. Y'all funny like Richard Pryor. You know what I mean? Whatever you doing, you you can't really rap too deep because then they don't want that. You get what I'm saying? They can't catch up because they're only looking like at what's in front of them, right? They could not see the spirit that was behind this man called Yeshua, who really, really, really loved God. He really loved God, right? He really loved his God. He really, really, really loved God. Okay? He was a man that really loved God so much so that he was willing to give his life for it. And there was nobody at that time who was willing to give, their life for their God, right? Well, historically, you have a lot of people like the Aztecs and people like that did give real human sacrifice for the gods, right? I mean, that's been like that forever. That's a whole nother story we're going to talk about. But so far as Jesus, he was the first kamikaze. See what I'm saying? Because he understood that at that time, the Bible tells you something without saying it. The Bible is showing you how there was racism, a lot of racism at that time. Like, for instance, if you were from Samaria, or you were from Ethiopia, or you were a Jew, right? If you were a Jew trying to marry an Ethiopian, the Jew would be like, one of your Jewish friends would be like, what are you doing? You're going to marry this person that's from Ethiopia? But God told Moses to take an Ethiopian woman as his wife. This is way before King David had did what he did when he stole another man's wife, right? Got the man killed in the military. He didn't even know that was going to happen. End up sleeping with the man's wife, and he got punished by God by doing that, right? So this is way before that. God had gave the okay to marry outside of the line, because when God said it's okay, that's it. It ain't nobody questioning that. But what did Moses, who is that, his cousin? I believe it was a cousin or a sister or whoever the woman was. She questioned God, right? So God had put an illness on her to show her, like, hey, you don't question what I say. Then he lifted it off of her, but he was just trying to tell her, like, look, I'm telling him to take her as his wife, and you're not to question me. And you don't question God. You don't do that, okay? So it's like that. It's like, but a lot of people that don't understand the Bible, and it's a lot of the delusional Christians. I mean, even like my dad, for instance, like we always argue over religion all the time. We argue over religion all the time because I feel like, in my soul, that God has this personal relationship with me, and it's not by coincidence. He's not going to keep having these things happen where I'm running into people and they telling me stuff. It's like he's speaking through people to me every day. Right? It's like if you go to a gun range, right? And someone probably has precision. So they probably shoot the target in the bullseye. They do it the first time, excellent. They do it the second time, excellent. But the third or fourth, fifth time, they don't hit the bullseye. Then you got this person that is a marksman, and he keeps on hitting that bullseye, and he shot 10 rounds, and they all hit bullseye. I'm going to think that, yo, that dude is the real shooter, right? You know what I'm saying? So God don't miss, man. You feel me? He don't miss. So when things like that happen over and over, and by the way, sin means missing the mark. If you missing the mark, it means that you're probably lying or untrue, right? Jesus was never missing the mark with anything, which is why he gave his life to allow people to mark him out, just so the all living God can bring him back to prove the marks wrong. You get me? Because the people who were really doing that, all of that wicked stuff, they were the marks. They were the sinners. They were the people who was actually hating. You get what I'm saying? So when you cross paths with people, you never think, oh yeah, this is just something random, because it ain't. You don't know who that person may be. You don't know who that person may be. Okay? Because Jesus said, if you would do this to the least of them, you probably would do this to me too, right? When you're walking over people on the street, oh, they're irrelevant because they're homeless. Or this girl, she's not attracted to me. You know, she's not physically attracted to me, so I'm not going to give her the time of the day. Or this man is not physically attracted to me, and he doesn't have any money or anything, so I'm not going to care about him. You know what I mean? So it's things like that that is a test. You know what I mean? So, like I said, Jesus is all about you have to love all people and you got to be true and you got to be real. Okay? They want to mark people out. So, I kept coming across people that tell me the exact perfect thing I need to hear at that moment, which is why I'm here right now making this podcast and making this episode. Look, I'm not trying to make this look appealing to people. You know why? Because it's a lot of people out there that got mental health stuff going on, that got health stuff going on, that got spiritual battles, and that's an ugly process, man. A lot of times when you resurrect people out of problems, it's an ugly process. You're going to have to get your feet in the mud. You might have to get blood on your hands to resurrect somebody, right? To drag them to the hospital or whatever, right? Or to do what you got to do to heal them, because Jesus healed people, right? He healed people. He restored their visions, right? He allowed blind men to see again. He performed all these miracles. One of his first miracles is when he turned the water into wine. And Jesus is saying, by faith, you can do this too, right? When he said, like, oh, can't nobody turn water into wine. What you talk? See, look, he didn't tell you to worry about all of that. Just follow what he's talking about. He basically is trying to show you an emanation, right? Or a reflection. You can do a lot of great things by having strong faith and belief of what you can do. He says, with man it's impossible, but with God anything is possible. Right? I believe that's Mark, if I can remember correctly, was that Mark 11:22 or something like that. So yeah, man, it's a lot of demons that are attacking you, and a lot of them exist internally. It's in your mind. You like, where is the intrusive thoughts coming from? This is what I had to deal with OCD. If you've seen the Venom movie, you see how Venom is always there. He's like always talking to you, Eddie, Eddie. You know, I think that I love that film because it nails it. You can make it work for you, but a lot of times, if you give that thing, the Venom symbiote, any type of leeway, it's gonna grow and it's gonna dominate you to the point where you don't have any control and you're cornered. Then you feel like you're harming yourself, you're starving yourself, because that thing is actually not you. It's actually a parasite. It's actually a demon telling you, oh, if you do this, this bad thing will happen. If you do this, God hates you. It would even think your worst fear, whatever it is, it's going to keep building off of that. If you did this, it means you killed Jesus. If you did this, it means that you're gay or you're this and that. It's telling you anything because it understands. But see, it only got stronger because you kept obeying it. And what that is if you embrace the fear and you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, then that's where you can really learn. Like, you know what I mean? You can really, really learn. You can really, really overcome it. See what I'm saying? You have to really, really overcome it, man. It's an ugly ass process, man. But you got to do it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of, and look, it's hard, but the thing about it is, it tells you in the Bible that perfect love casts out fear because fear has torment. Whosoever lives in fear can't be made perfect in love. And then they say love is God. So you can't be made perfect in God if you allowing these satanic things to put the fear in you to push you further away from Him. Because God is yes, I can. The devil is no, you can't. No, you can't. You can't liberate over this drug. You can't liberate over this sex craze. You can't liberate over this alcohol. You can't liberate over this anger that you have, this jealousy, this all this satanic stuff that that takes you away further from humanity. This shame, that's his favorite thing. The devil likes using, making you ashamed, to where you can keep hiding behind stuff, and you're slowly decaying. You're slowly starving yourself for not eating because the devil's saying, no, if you eat this bad thing will happen to you. But Jesus has said, no, I got you. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Embrace the things that make you uncomfortable. If you're scared to get dirty, you have to learn how to bathe in filth, which means it's like they actually do this test to make people overcome their fears. Cover them in their fears. Everything that you're scared, bask in it to show, I will conquer this. I'm comfortable with being here. This is nothing. Because when you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, you can be even more comfortable. Okay? I have stage fright. I don't want to get up there, but embrace it. Just like if you were goofing off in the living room with your parents, and then you're doing this in front of thousands of people. Why does it matter when you're up there? They're saying, "Oh man, it's nothing to him. He's just relaxing like he's at home." You empower other people to be like that. You get what I'm saying? So, yes, man. Going back to the Jewish people, right? Why wouldn't you want somebody like Jesus to be the representation of your people when he was like he really was the most perfect man that walked this earth? That's like having the best mascot for your team. It's like why wouldn't you want that? Now they say yeah because it takes people into a softer form of idolatry. Okay, I can understand what you mean by that too. If you were coming from, because I understand, because like the Torah, it never mentions anybody worshiping a man. God had used men to carry out His mission. But then when you get Jesus, Christians are saying He was the living embodiment of God. I totally get what y'all saying. I totally do. I'm not negligent or stupid or foolish or careless to not know what you mean, right? So that's why there's different denominations of different faiths. Like there's different Muslims that believe in different stuff. There's different Christians, and then there's different sects of Jews, right? Definitely, they are. There definitely are, right? But if you look at all of these Abrahamic faiths, or even Buddhism, or even a lot of those, or Hinduism, whatever, you'll find in Egyptian, you'll find that they all have a common thing they're saying. And when you look at what they're saying, this is not me trying to mislead you to worship all types of stuff. I'm just saying they all are saying there is a creator. Okay. Now, I debate with my dad whether or not he believes that the Native Americans and other people, like the Jews, were the only people that worship one God. He can't really say that because he wasn't there to know every tribe, right? That's kind of crazy to say that. That's like, not calling him crazy, but I'm just saying it's like, to me, that statement is because you weren't even here to see everybody, just like he's barely been in my life, to keep it 100, right? Not he's an excellent guy, but humans make, they were different people when they were younger, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if you barely know me, then it ain't no way in hell you can tell me that these particular people, Israel, was the only people that believed in one supreme creator. Because that's I don't believe that. When really African civilization gave a lot of people stole a lot of these concepts from our people. And that ain't something that I'm saying, that's facts. That's facts. I'm not here to debate how authentic or how valid Christianity is. No, that's not, because that is facts. That's historical facts that a lot of the people that were going in these places, colonizing and all that, they'll even tell you, yeah, you're right. No, he's right. Yeah, we went in there and did this. Yeah, that's facts. They'll tell you that. Okay. So facts and faith, you know what I mean? That's kind of like, you know what I mean? Because like faith, when you look at the definition of it, yes, belief is one of the components of faith. I explained this to you before, but the real etymology of the word is trust. Because you're not going to trust nothing you don't believe in. And you're not going to believe something you don't trust. Right? And you're not going to be faithful to something that you don't trust. And you're not going to be faithful to something that you don't believe in. You're not going to believe something that you're not faithful to. And you're not going to trust something that you're not faithful to. So when you're talking about faith, you know what I mean? And facts, do you know that that's your mom and dad? Yes. You don't believe that's your mom and dad, right? Do you have faith that that's your mom and dad? Or do you trust that that's your mom and dad? Or do you know that's your mom and dad? What you have is seeing that Jesus didn't have faith of his father. He knew his daddy. But we cannot see his daddy. So therefore, we have faith of his daddy. And we trust Yeshua because we can see Yeshua. We know him. But he's the veil of God. So when the veil broke and he was crucified, and then he rose up out of the ground, and God brought him back in the spiritual form, this is when people say, yo, it's God. That makes sense. And so sometimes, with this faith thing, the faith is really the veil of something that's going to come. This is why the Bible says that hope is for the hope of things to come, right? And your faith can be so strong that the reason why you trust it is because how it's making you feel. And you can feel that presence to where you can know. And when you know, it's a reason why you feeling what you feeling. So the spirit is speaking to you and letting you know that he is real and he exists. And you don't gotta see it to know it. I will say that again. You don't have to see it to know it. This is why the Christian says, I walk by faith and not by sight. Because if you gotta always see something to believe it, then you really are putting a veil over your own eyes, because it's gotta be tangible for you to see this, know it's real. So if I say, don't go around the corner because there's somebody waiting for you there that's gonna attack you, right? You can be, if you trust me, because you know, okay, that I am your father and I love you, you will not go. Okay? The reason why people would not trust Jesus' word is because they did not know him. Because if they knew him, they would trust him and they would believe him. You get what I'm saying? So when I say I have faith in God, what I'm really saying is that I know him. Then they say, how do you know him? You never seen him. Because I actually trust him. Why do you trust him? Because I know him. How can you really know him? I believe in him because I know him. Because I seen him. How did you see him when you just told me that you don't see him? Because if you believe that you need eyes in order to see something, then man, you in trouble. You must be blind. You get what I'm saying? Maybe you don't know. Because you don't know me. You get what I'm saying? If you knew me, then you would know him. But you don't know him because you don't know me. I know you because knowing you is to know myself. And knowing you is to know him. And knowing him is to know God. Because I know everybody and I trust you and I believe in you, I can believe in myself. If I believe in God, it's easy to love you because I love him. If I don't love him, then I have no faith in me or you. Therefore, I believe in you because I know him. And if I know myself, I know Allah or Elohim or Yahweh, or you can say whatever you want. But if you don't have faith and believe in yourself, you are being a deceiver to yourself. And the devil is only here to steal, kill, and destroy. Therefore, you can't blame it on the devil no more if you want to at least open your eyes to see that you are he. Jesus says, I am that I am. He says, I am he. You need to start standing up and saying, I am we. Okay? And you look at the word Elohim, it translates to gods as plural. It does not translate to God as singular. So what is it saying? Jesus says, haven't you read that ye are gods? He also said, why do you stone me then? If the word cannot be void or something of that nature, just paraphrasing, right? This is why I'm saying, man. But you're not supposed to dwell on the fact. You're not supposed to dwell on the fact that looking at yourself walking around like you're Elohim. Because if you look at Elohim as pure, you would not want to attach anything impure to what's pure. Something that you keep your faith in and you depend off of. You get what I'm saying? If you are in a relationship with your partner, you have to look at each other like you are each other's savior, but you have to look at each other like you are each other as one. Because it says in the Bible, a man has never ever hated his own flesh. You get what I'm saying? So to hate your wife is to hate yourself. It says this in the book. Now, me saying all this stuff I have my days where it's hard, where I don't feel 100%. I feel tired. I feel exhausted. But if I could remember God, right? This is for the Jewish people. This is for the Muslim people, right? If you don't want to say, if you don't want to pay attention to Jesus, Jesus said what? Whosoever has something against me, that can be forgiven. So he's saying, like, look, he's telling you in another way, you can have something against me, bro. That's fine. Because he didn't make it about himself. I'm going to tell y'all that again. For y'all Christians, that this, but he was God, but he was God, but he was God. You don't get it. You don't get it. You can't really talk about the Jew and all of them because you don't get it. You clearly show me you don't get it. So don't talk about the Muslim and the Jew and all these people. Don't talk about them. So what Jesus is saying, Isa is saying that you can have something against me that can be forgiven, but whosoever blasphemes the Holy Ghost, that can't be forgiven. Why would you think he would say something like this? Why would you think he would say something? No, just really think about why would he say something like this? For y'all, Bible experts, that y'all that can't wait to correct me of what I'm wrong about and all this. The reason why he's saying you can't blaspheme it, because that's like you are saying something against the Spirit of God. Because it's kind of like literally you talking about God directly now. It's not even about his avatar. It's not even about his emanation. It's not even about his creation no more. You are now dissing the source. So Jesus, he was giving, because he was a emanation of the Creator. Yes, he was created, manifesting the flesh. He was his outcast. He was his casting out, is like me saying like a spirit. He spewed him out. He was his seed. He was his offspring. Because I was his son. And Jesus was trying to remind us, we too are the offsprings of God. Because remember, Adam was his son as well. For you Jehovah's Witness out there, for you Christians out there, it says this in the book. But you know, the King James Version has a lot of mistranslations. It does, but the word is not lying of what it's saying, and people have been programmed by these so-called pastors and all these people, and they want to talk about how I am unlearned. No, hey, let me tell you guys out there, I had Judases in my life. I had people that were just like the people that was around Jesus. And I'm going to tell you, don't you ever tell me what I don't understand, because I went through it all. And I can tell you, I've been around hater spirits. I've been around good spirits. I've been around a lot of demons, and I scrap with them, and it's fun kicking their ass. Okay? And then I had a lot of angels. A lot of angels that looked after me, and they're looking after you too. And I don't play with that. I went from running from snakes to strangling serpents. Okay? So, like I said, you know, he said, you can have something against me, but whosoever blasphemes the Holy Ghost, that can't be forgiven. Now, I say this to say this. Of course, God is all merciful for you Muslims out there. As long as it don't contradict the scriptures, y'all Muslims are all right with some parts of what y'all say. Not all the parts of what y'all say. Some parts of what y'all say does not contradict Yahshua or Yahweh or Yahweh, Elohim, God of everything. For you Israelites, the God of Israel. Let me tell you this. Focus more on the source, not the emanations of the source, because you will find that Israel, according to what the Bible says, that's God's chosen nation. But you got to remember this: there was other nations that was before Israel, and Abraham, right? Before Jacob even was, there was Moses. You get what I'm saying? Then with Moses, there was Abraham. You get what I'm saying? Abraham, no, Abraham was first, then Moses came after. But the reason why I was saying Moses is because, yeah, Abraham was first, then Moses came after. But the Jew didn't come until way after. Israel didn't come until way after. Abraham, the reason why I said Moses first, because in my mind, Moses was supposed to be the one who was the one that was witnessing all of this, and he wrote the first 5 books because people believe that Moses handed the Torah down. He was the one that was responsible of that. The Jewish people, they don't believe in the book in that order. They have their own order of how the books are arranged. Guess what? I'm gonna piss a lot of y'all off. This is why I don't trust man. Okay? Because the Muslims are right about something, guys. You know what they right about? But not in the way that they say it, but they right about something. There are alterations. Because when you see what the Jewish people are doing, this is why I don't trust people. I don't even trust the King James Version to a certain extent. So what you do is, and I'm not contradicting myself, I mean that. Like, it's some things in there that when you read it, like I said, it's mistranslations in the Bible. That's what I said at first. But for the most part, the general aspect or the general expressions of Yeshua or Isa or Jesus is that he loves people and he was a community person. He was out there for real, for real. Okay? He was out there with the people. He was a touchable star. He wasn't like acting all Hollywood and in his cut and acting like the Pharisees was, like they were too good to eat with the sinners. Jesus kicked it with the people in the hood in Nazareth. Nazareth was like a hood. He was out there eating with the prostitutes and all the people that had problems. You know what I mean? He even drank wine himself, but he didn't do it obsessively where he became drunk or whatever. But he was a real dude. He could have a beer with you. He can have some wine with you. You know what I mean? He wouldn't drink beer at that time, but you know the wine is different than now. He can kick it with you, and he can kick you down some wisdom that's gonna help you, and you gonna know who you in because he gonna make you feel good to where you don't even gotta do the weed and all that because of the spirit. And he gonna say, look, we gonna go over here fishing. So he'd take his partners fishing and they'll be chopping it up out there. You know what I mean? About some positive stuff, right? Not just talking about no lustful women, this and that, because he was so rich in his wisdom that they loved that. They didn't even want to do bad no more. Okay? And it's a lot of good people out there that's like that. Feel me? But going back to battling bad thoughts, every time you speak in positivity and the positive spirit, you chopping all of that up. See what I'm saying? You chopping all of it up. So just remember that, man. To know you can have a faith so strong that you know, and you know what you know. You know what you believe in. Hey, let every man have his own Christ. If Christ is one thing to you, you should in your heart truly, deeply, wholeheartedly believe that. Let that person have their own Christ. How they believe in Christ to be, that ain't none of your business. Stop trying to correct people on everything, man. Let people have their own Christ. If they won't Christ, they made Christ pictures of Christ. You know what I mean? Look in a different way, which we know he didn't look like. You know what I mean? But then again, how do you know? And all this stuff, people want to say, hey man, people always make graven images. But you know what? That's what they want for their confidence. Some people make Christ black. You know what I mean? Some people make him look white. Some people, you whatever. But it ain't about that. It's about the spirit. Because last time I checked, you can be whatever color you want in the book. You know what I mean? But a body without life is a dead corpse. And it's no use. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, have faith in yourself, which is not easy because, like I said, I have my days where I got to overpower that. It said that Jesus said that the flesh is weak, but the soul is willing, right? He said his last prayer, praying to God before he gave his life when the officers came and arrested him in the garden. He was praying with his friends. And then he turned around, they was sleeping. He said, come on, I'll ask y'all to pray for me for just a little bit and y'all sleeping. You gotta pray or else you're gonna go into temptation, right? You're gonna go into sleep and start getting weak on him. You know what I mean? You gotta start praying. But he just said, I don't understand, go ahead and sleep, because he knew that they were tired, they were worried. You know what I mean? Because he was merciful as his father was, as our father is, right? He was merciful as God. So just think about that, man. The Sabbath, which is the seventh day, which God rested on from his work because he created everything in 6 days and he rested on the seventh day. He wanted us to have that Sabbath day to worship him. But really, when Jesus had healed the man on the Sabbath day, the Jews got upset because they were just about the work and the ritual and the worship and the sacrificing on the altar and all of that. And that ain't gonna save you from your problem. Jesus was like, look, I actually healed a man on this day. And he's up walking again. I helped the man recover his health and he's up walking again. And they said, how dare you break the law because you're not supposed to do any work on this day? They try to make an excuse. How many people do you know, no matter whether you do right or wrong, they still ain't gonna never be satisfied. They still ain't never gonna be satisfied. Then you get to the point where you have a Christ-like spirit and you stop trying to satisfy people. That's the problem right there. Okay, that's the problem right there. And when God is your mana, and you know why you're going out there, make charity to the people. You know what I mean? And you out there touching the people's heart and soul, and you having an effect on people, giving them a good word that they didn't have at home. How many times you been out? Somebody say, "Man, you made my day," just because you gave your love and the spirit. See what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, you know, just believe in yourself, man. And just meditate on whatever you believe, man. Whatever it is that lifts you up, bro. Like I got brothers that's from different faiths or whatever, but just know this: you can call on what you want, but if you ain't really about that spirit and you not projecting that out in the world, man, it's vain. Faith without works is dead, right? If you know it, do it. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it, man. And I had a long time where I would procrastinate and stuff like that, but I was thinking a lot and I was in a different place. But we all need time, and it is what it is. But just don't stay stuck. That's what I'm saying. So, you know what I mean, man. We all we got, man. And now the world is changing at so much that these people trying to take people's homes, they trying to take people's lives, they mind. People breaking into your car every 4 or 5 seconds. People are disrespecting each other's family, and most of all, people are slowly killing themselves in different ways, committing suicide and all that. And that's why it's important to battle the devil. He wants to attack your mind. He's telling you, no, you can't. If you do this, then you're a horrible person. He will feed off of your worst fears. But Jesus is standing up strong, like, no, I don't have to listen to you. They are saved. They are mine, and nothing can harm them. Embrace those things. It gives a powerful thing that says, and nothing that they can drink shall hurt them. This doesn't mean go off and drink things like you're infinite and you can't die. No, because you can hurt yourself that way. It's giving an expression of saying no thing shall hurt them. Jesus is saying that you are protected. I give them powers to tread on serpents and scorpions. He said, I'm giving you power to walk on them. These things as poisonous, they can't harm you. That's God. You know what I'm saying? Because he was a manifestation of God. So like I said, hey man, I wouldn't even want to be nothing else but a Christian. Because you look at it like this, something happen, you gonna be in trouble, man. You're gonna be in trouble. Because what God said, look, I'm giving you the embodiment of me. Because he wanted you to be like he, because he wanted you to be as he, because he wanted you to be him. You get what I'm saying? But we can't bring people back from the dead. See, that's the devil. I'm not trying to tell you to go try to bring back. He's trying to make you whole to where you live free from worrying about what you gonna lose. Because yeah, all of us are gonna die. But he's showing you that you are not this. This is not the end of you. This is not who you are. Just like Jesus knew that as well, which is why he did not want you to worship him. How many times do I gotta state this? He never made it about himself. People getting it confused. They say the spirit of Christ, the spirit of Jesus, the name of Jesus, and all of this, right? But the thing about it is, Jesus, it's like if you're planting a seed, it blossoms up. It's Yahshua. Going back to the source, to the source, to the source, going back, going back, going back. It is God, it is Elohim, it is Yahweh, or what they call it Yahweh for some people, or Allah. That's who it is. Yes, Isa is Allah. Oh, I crossed the line for Muslims. Oh, no, he's not. No, yes, he is. Showing you that you have Allah gave you breath. And if your Quran does not believe that Allah gave Adam breath, then it's the devil. It's a lie. It's a lie. So I didn't read the Quran enough to know that. I'm not saying this because it's like me trying to attack him, but I'm saying in the Quran, I believe I read this one time because I studied a little bit. It said the revelation, yes, like it confirms that yes, the Torah was passed to the Jews, and now we have our prophet Muhammad. This is so. Then you approve of what the Jews are saying, even if y'all don't realize it. And what the Jews are saying in the Torah, that yes, God blew his breath into Adam. So you are agreeing with that. You also agreeing with the fact that In the Quran, it says how Adam was made from the mud. So to me, the Muslim faith is really an emanation of the Torah, because if it wasn't for Torah, you would not even have the Quran. You would not have it. I will say this again. You would not have it. There wouldn't be a such thing as a Quran. This is not me dissing you, because when I look at the Muslim people today, I'm not dissing you, my Jewish family out there. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying they are the most holiest looking people that I've ever met. So I'm not talking about down on the Muslim, because that's facts, and nobody can take that away from them. When you see the Muslim women out there, whatever, I'm not saying they can be sinful people and everybody's sin, whatever. But I'm saying they're strict about certain things. I don't think it's likely to see them commit certain things that I've know about in the church. Before I even joined the church, I was hearing about a lot of stuff, and I know that was taking place in the church, like a lot of fornication with men, trying to holler at a lot of the Christian women in there, and you know, people getting married and getting divorced and all these things. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's certain things that the other nations do. Um, I think probably better than the Western world in some sense, that we can kind of learn from each other, and it's same way vice versa. You know what I mean? Not trying to say this person's better than what, but I'm saying you can learn from them and learn about the tradition, learn about the importance of family, learning about the importance of taking care of your elders. Like I was a caretaker. I was a caretaker, and like taking care or babysitting or whatever it is, service, um, for something bigger than yourself. You get what I'm saying? Serving to take care of your family and your friends and yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else. So yeah. So man, it's just I just wanted to make this video to just say, man, all the prophets, yeah, that's cool, but they all did the work for who? God. So at the end of the day, it's about your relationship from just you straight to God, man. I know that Jesus told you, like, oh, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. But if you really are one with God, you don't have to think about him as a mediator, because you're going to sit in the same place that he sat, because he too loved God. And you're going to naturally move there like that. Like that's just what you're going to become. You're going to become an emanation of Yeshua, because he was the emanation of God. So emanations, you know what I mean? That's just all I wanted to share with you, man. We are he. Elohim. You know what I mean? If you respect each other, it's because you respect God. Praise God. Love and light and blessings. And I'll see y'all in the next video.